Hi, my name is Sammy Jones, and today I'm going to talk about why Dead by Daylight will never be a mainstream esports. Not necessarily it won't be an esport, as there is already a niche community that plays matches and tournaments for this game. Uh, there is even a esports team for it on the club esports here at Miami University. However, I don't think it will ever reach the same status that, say, Valorant or Overwatch has in the grand scheme of esports in the world. Now, to start, we have to talk about what is Dead by Daylight. It is a 4v1 asymmetrical horror made by the company Behavior Interactive, a French and Canadian based company with a few offices littered throughout various places. It is an online multiplayer game with a little bit of local capabilities where you can play with your friends rather than being thrown into random matches. It is typically set up in the form of 4 survivors versus 1 killer trying to accomplish their goal in a randomized map. Now, going into the basic gameplay, there are 4 survivors that spawn in, and their goal is to fix up to 5 generators based on the amount of players playing, with there being 1 more generator than the amount of players, maximum 5, as mentioned previously. The survivors' kits can equal up to 4 perks that are obtained by leveling various characters, as well as an item such as a flashlight or a medkit or a toolbox, and an offering which I will bring up later when talking about the killers. The survivor's goal is to fix all of the generators, open the gate, and escape, or when it's down to 1 player, a hatch will open up, making for a fairer game for that one singular survivor to be able to escape the killer at the end, even if there are, say, 3 whole generators left, which is quite the impossible task for one singular player. It involves a variety of teamwork and distracting of the killer, and hiding in lockers, searching through chests. Just overall, a lot of espionage and sneaking around in order to avoid being caught, and if you are caught, you have to rely on your teammates in order to help you out of the sticky situation. Now, the killer's goal is when they load in, they have 4 perks as well as a few add-ons to their main abilities that can make certain abilities last longer or recharge quicker or different things like that. As well as they can also do offerings. Now, offerings can do a variety of things. Most of the time, they're used to choose a certain map or increase the amount of blood points, the basic in-game currency that is received during a match. Obviously, that's not going to be too helpful in the format of a esports match. But the other offerings can include stuff to make the fog heavier or lighter, making more or less hooks, making more or less chests, stuff like that, in order to make it so the killer or survivors have a harder or easier time based on what offerings are put into the gameplay. Now, how would this even work in an esports setting? Typically, the teams would include about 5 or 6 players, with each team having their own set of survivors, killers, and swap players. And the matches would happen simultaneously with fourth team survivors against the other team's killer, and vice versa. This would mean that it is going to be a point-based system with teams trying to reach a certain number of wins before the other players, and it can probably go on for a bit if teams are evenly matched. Some rules and guidelines that are set up are some perks may be banned as they may be considered unfair to either the survivors or the killers. And survivors can have up to 16 perks, obviously, among all of the players, and it would be a bit unfair if everyone could have adrenaline, a perk that means once all the generators are done, all survivors suddenly heal 1 state, which is considered a very good perk within the game. It'd be a bit unfair if every player could have that, so each perk is limited to 1 within a team. So 1 person can have adrenaline, 1 person can have mending. One person can have the perk, period. No exceptions. Now we're going to get into why the game can't be an esport. And there are a variety of reasons why it can't be, despite the small community. It will not, why it won't be a mainstream esport that is broadcast worldwide and has a world championship, stuff like that. There's just a few reasons why it will never be that. To start, there are a lot of bugs and weird game code. If a coder were to look into the game code, it would look kind of like a tangled mess, which in the early stage of the game led to a lot of bugs. And while they have decreased, there are still many game-breaking bugs within this game that happen a bit too often for anyone to be comfortable putting a esports match based on it. So, some example, well, we are past the days of players and survivors and killers shooting up when an attack is missed or when an attack is hit on the survivor and just shooting up into infinity as the map gets smaller and smaller below you. We're past that. There are some other new game-breaking bugs that, while they do make for funny video content for such stuff such as YouTube or Twitch, they would lead to some problems within an esports setting. Some examples are players will get stuck within pallets when they're thrown down, either survivors or killers, and this means that killers can't break the pallet, and this would pretty much result in a complete game restart, which ends up being unfair to uh, the killer and the survivors, because perks are usually hidden, and you can usually tell what players have what perks based on how they play the game or what happens in the game, and just having to restart the match because of a glitch or a bug would result in players going in knowing what the other person has and being able to build a strategy around it prior to the game even starting, which is a bit unfair. There's also the reemergence of another bug that was previously gone, but now it's back, where survivors can go into lockers with a flashlight, and killers will not be able to get the survivors out, and survivors will be able to continuously blind the killer from within the locker. Now, while this doesn't seem like it would be too breaking, it would just be pretty much a funny thing that might be a bit of a waste of time because, oh, it's a stalemate. During the time the killer's trying to deal with that player, there's going to be other survivors fixing gens and overall accomplishing the goal and leading to a huge waste of the killer's time. Oh, sorry for the weird delay. So continuing on, I was originally going to ask that everyone play the game. Then I remembered that the game costs money, and I've just had it for so long I forgot it costs money. So instead I have two things that to ask you to do. Go watch someone on YouTube or Twitch playing the game, so you can get an idea of how the game is played, how the various perks work, just how the game overall functions. And then I want you to also answer these two questions that I have. Just take a minute, pause the video, answer these questions. To start, what do you normally pay for in a typical esports game? So, like, if you're pulling out your credit card for something in Valorant or Overwatch, what are you pulling out your credit card for? Then answer the question, are there any, like, payments, or is there anything in a normal esports game? Can you name any esports games that feature a paywall to reach key features? Like, features that would make or break the game. Can you think of any that would do that? After you do that, I'm gonna assume now that you've unpaused the video, and we're going to continue on now. Now, this leads into the DLCs and payments problems of Dead by Daylight. It is a bit unfair that there is a variety of killers and survivors, and therefore their perks, that are hidden behind a paywall, within the game. Not even getting started on the fact that the game costs money, unlike a lot of popular esports games at the moment. The DLCs, in terms of them, there are 34 different DLCs that have survivors and killers that people are not going to be able to play unless they pay for this DLC. Now, this might not be a problem as much on the survivor side. It is a lot easier to get perks than using the in-game currency that is achieved by doing dailies, and obviously it takes a while to get that much currency by doing that. But for killers, this makes a huge problem because the killers, their worth is dependent on how effective they are in the chase. Typically, that is the big thing within the community, is how do the characters function within a chase setting. Now, I'm going to look at a few of the killers and just talk about them real quick to get this point across. One of the free killers you get within the game is the Wraith. The Wraith is not considered that good in the chase because he just turns invisible and it takes time for him to get in and out of that, and he's typically slower while he's going in and out unless you build him correctly. And he's considered actually one of the lower tiers within the game. Another character that is hidden behind a paywall, but I find the most fun to play, but is not very good in the chase, is Michael Myers. Michael Myers moves slower than other killers, which obviously is not going to help you in the chase. He has to stalk to charge a meter that will make him hit survivors harder. But obviously, this is not effective in a chase scene, but it is very effective for scaring friends while playing. Now, some characters that are good in a chase, but are also hidden behind a paywall for various reasons. There is the nurse, who is able to teleport throughout the map. Obviously, very helpful for in a chase setting, and also being able to check generators quickly, patrol quicker, just overall be a bit better. Though she is very hard, it has a very hard learning curve. Another character is there is a character from the Resident Evil games whose name within the game escapes me. He sends a large tentacle out that slams down and has a longer range, which obviously will help in a chase setting, as well as he has zombies that patrol the map, and can also hit players. And another killer that is also hidden behind a paywall is the Huntress, who can shoot off axes and overall just make the survivors have a lot harder time keeping the distance between the killer and themselves. So these paywalls make it so even though within the game's programming you are able to play against killers you do not own, when it comes down to the killers and choosing who you're able to play, if you're stuck with just the base set of characters, you're not going to do well against people who are used to playing against these new characters that have all of these advantages. Plus, you're going to have a harder time of getting the perks because you have to build up the in-game currency in order to be able to practice using them. And it's just a huge disparity that makes it harder for people without the funding to play the game at the same level as other people within the esports community. Still a very fun game for casual play with your friends, but not very good for an esports business. Now, on to my final point, the game is going to have some branding issues when it comes to tournaments. As you can see, there seems to be a lot of familiar faces on this screen. This is not even all of them that are within the game, but these familiar faces make it very hard for the game to have a lot of promotional material, or for esports teams to be able to promote what characters they typically main on their social medias. I am currently on the Miami varsity team's social media as an intern, so I post things and help make the graphics that go for the teams. And one of the big issues we have is we are not allowed to put, for example, on Overwatch, if one player mains Mei on Overwatch, I can't post anything with the player with Mei or post any pictures of Mei on our social media because it would lead to branding issues with Blizzard. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of IP on Dead by Daylight. This, like I said, it's not even all of them. Most recently, we have Chucky, but there's also like Alien, Sadako from The Ring. We have Bill from Left 4 Dead, Ash from The Evil Dead. Uh, 3 different Stranger Things characters, 3 different Resident Evil characters, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, uh, Amanda from Saw. Just a bunch of IP that would lead to a lot of complications when trying to promote the game for an event or promote the teams on social media websites. These branding issues kind of make it very hard to, without getting into any legal trouble, and it would be even more confusing if certain IPs allowed it and certain others didn't. Now, to end it off, I just want to say thank you for watching, and while I do think it's going to keep its niche small community that it currently has, these are the reasons why I don't think Dead by Daylight's going to end up being mainstream like Valorant or Overwatch or League of Legends or other such games that may have a similar format to it in the grand scheme of esports worldwide. And I do still love the game. I highly recommend it if you get the money to play it. But this game is not ideal for an esports setting due to these reasons. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.